When I was 9 months pregnant, I received an electronic bill in the mail. My husband transfers $30,000 to the same person every month without interruption. The first transfer was 2 years ago when we had just lost our first child. At this time, the WeChat notification sounded. There was a friend request with a note, a happy woman with 30,000 yuan in pocket money every month. I was unusually calm. I stroked my belly and clicked accept. The other party sent a message, "Have you received the bill?" I ignored this message and went straight to her moments. The earliest photo was taken on April 21st, 2 years ago. The woman gently lay on the man's shoulder, holding a huge pigeon egg diamond ring. On the man's shoulder, the caption was, "Thank you for my birthday gift." Although the man in the photo only had a back view, I knew at a glance that it was my husband Gavin because the shirt was a gift I brought back for him when I was on a business trip, and there was a complicated dark embroidery on the collar. It was April 21st, 2 years ago. I lost my first child when I was undergoing a curettage in the cold operating room of the hospital. I claimed that my husband on a business trip was celebrating another woman's birthday. How ridiculous. I continued to scroll the screen with shaking hands. The woman started to show off all kinds of luxury goods from that time, and unfortunately, I had the same items except for a jasmine perfume. The top moments pinned a ultrasound report. She was pregnant. I put down my phone and frantically searched the laundry basket at home. I found the shirt that Gavin had changed last night. When I put it to my nose, the warm scent of jasmine wafted out. I never use perfume. Perhaps the person on the other end of the phone couldn't wait any longer because they couldn't wait for a response. The phone started beating wildly, and pictures and videos were sent to me all at once. I held my stomach and sat down with difficulty, holding my breath and looking at the evidence that recorded Gavin's betrayal of me. The woman in the photo was young and beautiful, her high ponytail smart. There were photos of Gavin and her boating on the lake, photos of Gavin playing snowballs with her, and photos of Gavin inserting maple leaves in her hair. All year round, spring, summer, autumn, and winter recorded love and being loved. I took a deep breath and clicked on a video with shaking hands. Gavin gently called her Lily at the beach. The woman held Gavin's hand and asked softly, "Do you love me?" My husband of 7 years, the father of my unborn child, replied to her tenderly, "Gavin loves Lily the most in his life." I played this video nervously in the silence of the room. Tears fell one by one. I sat alone until dusk. The room was dark. When Gavin came back, he complained to me softly, "Samantha, why didn't you turn on the light? It's so dark. What if you fall?" The room suddenly lit up, and I covered my red eyes. He squatted in front of me and took my hand. "Why are you still crying? Who made my big baby and little baby sad?" He called the little baby to kiss my belly. When I got closer, I smelled the sweet jasmine fragrance again. "Where did you go?" I asked calmly. "I was working overtime at the company." "What's wrong with you, wife? You lied. You went to Lily's place because she wanted to eat the famous sui in the east of the city, and there was no delivery service. So you drove for more than an hour from the west of the city to the east of the city. Lily broadcast it to me live." I laughed and held his hand. "Husband, my baby and I suddenly want to eat the famous sui in the east of the city." I folded my hands and placed them on my belly. My child seemed to understand my sadness and kicked violently. "Can you go buy it?" Gavin's eyes flashed with impatience, and he pulled his hand back, looking irritable. "What's so good about that sui? Besides, you are in your advanced stage now, so who'd pay attention to your diet for the sake of our son? Wife, please bear with it." Then he stood up and walked to the bathroom. "I'll take a shower first. I'm so tired today. You can call our mother to come and make you something to eat." I heard the bathroom door close. I swallowed the cry in my heart, stroked my belly, and told my child, "Baby, you have to fight a tough battle with your mother." Gavin's phone flashed on the dining table. People who cheated never shy away from me, do they? Think I'm really stupid? The sound of water in the bathroom sounded, and I stood up with difficulty, holding my belly. The passwords of the mobile phones were all wrong, from the wedding anniversary to each other's birthdays. I entered the date of Lily's ultrasound examination with trembling hands and unlocked successfully. I sneered and clicked on the storage space in the chat software. Sure enough, I found Lily's avatar in it. The two of them were clearly couple avatars, and one of them signed, "If the love is long-lasting, the other person is not in the morning and evening." Clicking on the dialog box, I looked at the full screen of "Dear, miss you, baby, Bab," and calmly turned on the screen recording function. I opened Gavin's shopping software again. All of them were nutritional supplements, face creams, makeup, etc., that pregnant women need. The delivery address was a certain community, and the recipients were all Lily without exception. I cradled the restless child with one hand and took screenshots with the other. I sent all the files and videos to myself and deleted the records. After making sure there were no loopholes, I put the phone back in its place. I staggered back to the bedroom and lay on my side on the bed. My heart felt like there was a hole in it, and I was shivering from the cold. 7 years of marriage, nothing but a joke. When Gavin came out of the shower, his cell phone rang. I saw from the crack of the bedroom door that he answered the phone with a gentle face, looked in the direction of the bedroom, walked to the balcony, and carefully closed the door. I stood up by the door and looked at him. No sound was heard, but the man lowered his head and smiled tenderly. Probably what the person on the other end of the phone said made Gavin raise his eyebrows in embarrassment, but he quickly gave in and agreed with a smile. My heart felt very cold. I turned around and moved step by step to the bed. It was as if all the air in the bedroom had escaped, and I breathed hard. Suddenly, I heard Gavin walking in quietly. One hand was on my stomach, and the other was arranging my forehead. He told me softly, "Honey, there is a problem with a project in the company, and I have to go." I turned my head and looked at him deeply. "I feel a little uncomfortable. Can I not go?" At that moment, I even thought that if he stayed and didn't see that woman, I could try to forgive him. But I forgot that a kite with a broken string cannot come back. As expected, the man was embarrassed to comfort me. "Wife, this project is related to the life and death of the company, and I have to go. Can I call my mother to come and stay with you?" I felt really sick and had goosebumps all over my body, but he still told him to pay attention to safety on the road. I lay quietly, watching him get dressed and leave the house. I held my stomach, slowly went downstairs, and hailed a taxi to go to Jaha community. The taxi driver drove very fast. When we arrived at the community, we saw Gavin's car. I asked the driver to park the car behind the tree. Through the car window, I could clearly see Lily flying into Gavin's arms like a butterfly. Gavin gently caught her and placed his hand gently on the woman's flat belly. There was a gentle reproach on his face, and he even raised his hand to scratch the bridge of the woman's nose. I stroked my tight belly with one hand and took out my phone with the other hand to switch to video mode on the screen. The man raised his arm to carry the woman to the co-pilot and put on the seatbelt considerately. I blinked my sore eyes. The taxi driver followed the car in front. The car climbed onto the elevated road, and I looked up at the neon lights outside. My nail scratched the car window glass until it was torn. The sharp pain brought me back to my senses. I put the bleeding finger in my mouth and bit it hard. In the interlaced car shadows, I told myself again and again, "Samantha, bear with it, and it won't hurt." When the car stopped at the provincial hospital, I scanned the code to pay. When I pushed the door and got out of the car, the taxi driver, who had been silent all the time, suddenly turned around and said, "Girl, look at it more positively. For the sake of the baby in your belly, don't hurt yourself." I didn't tell anyone since I knew Gavin cheated, but this matter is like the most vicious poison. It has killed me countless times. The care of strangers made me stick my head out of the mud and breathe fresh air. I closed the door gently and replied with a smile, "Uncle, it's okay. No one can hurt me because I plan to throw the garbage into the trash can." I hid behind the pillars and watched Gavin, who had not accompanied me for a checkup during my entire pregnancy due to his busy work, running around to register and get medicine. He cared for the woman in and out just like a perfect husband. It turned out that being busy at work was just an excuse. He just didn't want to spend time on his wife who was having the 7-year itch. In the hall where people came and went, Gavin gently embraced the woman and told her again and again, "The doctor told you to eat less and move more at night. It's easy to have poor digestion in the early pregnancy, so you must be obedient this time, okay? The woman twisted her body and acted coquettish. Oh, I remember it. It's all your fault. Who told you to buy so many sui? Okay, it's all my fault. I bought too much and made my baby eat too much. Okay, that's better. Then I will forgive you. Only I, under the pale light of the hospital, was like a shameless peeping Tom. I held my belly and moved out of the hospital step by step. It was raining outside. The autumn wind and autumn rain seemed to cool the world. In the hazy rain and fog, I saw Gavin carefully covering the woman with his clothes. He carefully protected her and sat in the passenger seat. The woman looked up, pulled Gavin's tie for a kiss as if she couldn't wait. My husband held another woman's face with both hands and kissed her passionately in the rain. Afterwards, he scratched the woman's nose coquettishly. The other party was even more arrogant and pulled the tie again, biting him hard on the lips. He didn't get angry and got into the car contentedly. When the car was about to leave, the woman lowered a side window, looked at me provocatively, and said, "Samantha, you lose." I smiled and shook my head. "It's okay, Samantha. Just a man." I even waved to the woman. As the car was about to turn, "Gavin, I don't want it anymore. I'm giving it to you." I stood under the porch of the hospital and calmly sent all the evidence to my senior sister, a famous divorce lawyer. I want the best interests of my children. After doing these things, the rain had already wet the hem of my skirt. When I put down my phone, the ringtone happened to ring. "It's Mom. Samantha, I made soup and brought it to your home. Where were you and Gavin?" "Not at home, anyway." "Oh, it's true that Gavin is still taking you out to run around when you were only a month old. This is the time when you should be most careful." Hearing my mother's voice, the grievance in my heart grew into a towering tree in an instant. I bit my lip and forced the sobs back into my lungs. It was so painful to endure that my whole body was trembling. Mom, don't worry so much. He and I are having a big dinner outside." "Oh, be careful. Gavin is right next to me. I'm afraid I won't be able to help crying. It's raining. Go home slowly and send me a text message when you get home." I hurriedly picked up the phone and took a deep breath. I pressed with all my strength but still cried in the rain. I held my belly, which was hurting in the third trimester of pregnancy, and stood alone in a crowded hospital. I shed all the tears in my life. Gavin didn't come back all night. There was only one text message, as Samantha, "I have to work overtime until late today and will sleep in the company. It's raining, and the temperature is dropping. Don't sleep with the window open. I love you forever, husband." I read the text message expressionlessly and was too lazy to type a reply. I used to think I was the happiest person in the world because I had the best husband in the world. Now it seems that people's hearts are separated from their stomachs, and the paper is full of nonsense. Soon I received the divorce agreement drafted by my senior sister. I printed it out and signed it. When I was packing up to move to my mother's house, I received a strange call. It was Lily. I went to the cafe downstairs. Lily sat opposite with a calm face, holding a shopping bag from the supermarket. The woman, 3 months pregnant, crossed her legs and stepped on thin high heels, looked at me with a smug look, and said, "I thought you wouldn't come after all. You never replied to me on WeChat." I smiled and said, "Why wouldn't I come? I didn't do anything shameful that needs to be hidden. Besides, Gavin and I are a legal couple, and we can be open and honest with each other, unlike some people who pretend to be a third party but are still a third party." What do you mean?" Lily gritted her teeth and grabbed my hand. "But I still have to thank you for sending me the evidence of Gavin's cheating, otherwise, it would not be easy for me to collect this evidence myself." I raised my hand again to interrupt Lily. "So this cup of coffee is my treat." I put the cash at the bottom of the cup and slowly stood up with my stomach. "What do you mean?" Lily shook my hand off fiercely. The force was too great, and I staggered backward. The moment I fell to the ground, my stomach felt like a hole was dug by a knife, and the pain made me spit unconsciously. When blood gushed out from my lower body, I screamed. Save my child. Watching Lily flee in panic, I calmly asked the clerk to call the emergency number. When I was carried to the ambulance, the blood had soaked my skirt. My consciousness began to fade. In a trance, I heard the nurse asking for my mobile phone password. After unlocking the phone, the medical staff made 6 calls to the emergency contact in the address book. My husband. The last time was finally connected. Samantha, something happened at the company. An emergency meeting is being held now. I will call you back later. Be good. The phone was hung up neatly, but I still heard Lily's cry in the background. I avoided the nurse's sympathetic eyes and calmly wiped the blood off my hands on my clothes. With trembling hands, I took the phone and called my mother. I told her calmly, "Mom, I'm going to give birth. Don't worry. Listen to me. Go home and get my ID card and delivery bag and take a taxi to the provincial hospital. Next, do whatever the doctor tells you to do. I'm fine. Mom, don't worry." The moment the phone was hung up, I was finally defeated by the endless pain and screamed. Cold sweat slid down like water as my consciousness sank into the abyss. I used up my last bit of strength to grab the emergency doctor's hand and said, "You must save my child. I can't lose this child again." My consciousness kept fluctuating. Sometimes I seemed to hear my mother crying, and sometimes the doctor calmly urged the blood bag to catch up. When a trace of cold touch passed through my abdomen, I vaguely saw my past self under the cold white shadowless law. MP. At that time, Gavin and I had just graduated from college. We were very poor and rented the cheapest basement. In order to save money, we would cook in the narrow corridor. No matter how late we got off work, it was just a bowl of boiled noodles and water, and the two of us were satisfied. At that time, I just looked at a dress a few more times because I passed by a store. Gavin could skip breakfast for 2 consecutive months when I bought the dress. I yelled at him distressfully, "If you don't eat breakfast, what if you get hungry? Are you stupid? Besides, what am I going to wear such an expensive dress for?" He hugged me and vowed, "My Samantha deserves the best things in the world. I will work hard to make money and buy you the best things." Later, he rose to higher positions and bought me more and more luxury goods, but none of them could compare to that dress. Later, the man who said he loved me had another woman in my days. I felt so sad. When tears rolled down, I heard a strange and loud cry of a baby. My heart seemed to be filled with sourness and softness. I tried to open my eyes and asked with a sob, "Is the baby okay?" "Don't worry, expectant mother. The little princess is very healthy." At that moment, I finally closed my eyes with peace of mind. I smelled disinfectant. I broke free from the dense darkness and opened my eyes to see my mother's red eyes. Before she could speak, her tears began to flow. "My Samantha has suffered." I touched her flat belly and looked at her anxiously. The petite child lay in her arms, beautiful and peaceful like an angel. "The child is here. You and your mother are lucky. God bless you," the mother said gently as she placed the child next to me. "But the doctor also said that you have suffered a lot this time and lost a lot of blood. You must take good care of yourself in the future, pay attention to the healing of the wound, and don't get tired." She deliberately avoided talking about Gavin. My mother has always been a smart person. I kissed my daughter's fingers carefully and told her mother calmly, "I plan to divorce. Mom, Gavin, She held my hand distressfully, tears falling down. "Samantha, don't say it. Mom knows everything. My daughter has suffered. After you went into the operating room last night, Mom kept calling that bastard, and no one answered until the phone was turned off. I thought he was busy with work. It was not until you and your mother came out of the operating room and I saw Gavin when I checked you in that he was accompanying a woman for a physical examination. If you hadn't just come back from the gates of hell and needed Mom would have wanted to rush up and kill the couple." I held Mom's hand to comfort her. I felt extremely peaceful in my heart. My mother raised me alone. She looks weak but has an extremely strong heart. No matter how old I grow, in her eyes, I am a little girl who needs her protection. Samantha, Mom can raise you alone and can also help you raise your daughter. So just do what you want to do. Don't tell your mom, you see. I still have a mom who loves me. After losing Gavin, my world won't change drastically. I'm just a man. In the evening, Gavin finally showed up. He hurriedly pushed open the door of the ward. Samantha, how do you feel now? He knelt straight in front of the bed and slapped himself loudly. I am a bastard. I couldn't be with you when you gave birth. You can hit me or scold me. There was indeed an emergency at the company at that time, and then the phone ran out of battery and turned off. I watched the man's performance coldly and interrupted him in annoyance. A divorce, Gavin, a divorce. Why? I'm not that bad, Samantha. Listen to me and let me explain. There was indeed an incident at the company last night, so I got straight to the point. Lily, 29 years old, lives in Jaha community, 3 months pregnant. You accompanied her to the hospital for a checkup last night. Gavin, UCH. Eat it on me. I think it's dirty. The man looked at me in horror, his face turned pale in an instant. He pulled my hand in panic. Samantha, I was obsessed for a while. I never thought about divorce. I was going to break up with her, but she told me she was pregnant. I couldn't help it. After all, it's a life. Samantha, you have to believe me. I always love you. At this moment, my mother returned to the ward with her daughter who had just had her blood drawn. Gavin was like seeing a life-saving straw. Wife, besides, we have a child. Please forgive me once for the sake of the child. My mother avoided his hand that was about to hold the child and placed the child safely beside me. Then she calmly raised the stool at hand and smashed it on Gavin's head. Gavin jumped to dodge, and the stool finally landed on his shoulder. Silently, my mother raised the stool for the second time, and Gavin ran away screaming with his head in his arms. The stool flew out and hit the door with a deafening sound. In the following days, Gavin always hid outside the door, secretly sometimes even teased his daughter through the glass. After my mother smashed another thermos, I asked her to take the baby out to bask in the sun. I let Gavin enter the ward. Gavin had lost a lot of weight, and his cheeks were sunken. As Samantha, please forgive me for the sake of the child. I, Gavin, swear that I will never do anything to let Samantha down again. Really, Samantha, believe me. When we are old, this incident will only be a small episode in our long life. I recovered well and could stand up by leaning against the head of the bed. Looking at Gavin's self-righteous expression, I just felt sick. I told him word by word, Gavin, I have evidence of your affair with that woman, transfer records, and electronic bills. If you don't agree to an agreement for divorce, then we can only meet in court. The man's arrogance disappeared instantly, and he grabbed my hand in panic and said, Samantha, I am a bastard. I cheated, and I deserve to die. I deserve to die 1,000 times or 10,000 times. But my wife, we have a daughter now. You can't let her be born without a father. Give me a chance. I will change. I will really change this time. I pulled my hand back little by little with a firm attitude. There is no chance because I think you are dirty. I raised my hand to interrupt his rebuttal. If I remember correctly, you have been competing for the position of regional general manager recently. If you make a big fuss about the divorce at this time, what do you think the people in the company will think of you, the person who always pays the most attention to etiquette? The man knelt on the ground and cried loudly. I told him calmly amid the loud slap, I have signed the divorce agreement and put it in the study. Sign it quickly. My mother will be back soon. You know her temper. If you don't want to be beaten again, leave quickly. In the next few days, I rested well in the hospital. After being discharged from the hospital, I moved directly into the confinement center. The center has strict visitor records, and the burly security guard stopped Gavin who broke in. I had a rare moment of peace and quiet until one day I received a package. It was a beautifully wrapped gift box. I took it with joy, guessing it was a gift from a friend to her daughter. I carefully unwrapped it, untied the pink ribbon, and tore off layer after layer of gift paper. After opening the lid, a pungent smell of blood came out. I heard the scream of the confinement nanny behind me, then the cry of my daughter who was awakened by fear. I calmly asked the confinement nanny to carry my daughter away. I exhaled with a trembling body. When I heard the door close, I gritted my teeth and stared at the things in the box. A baby rabbit, a dead baby rabbit. The snow-white fur had been dyed red by blood. I held my breath and called Gavin. The man came quickly, pushed open the door, and looked at me cautiously. Samantha, you are finally willing to see me. I raised my hand to interrupt him and indicated to him to look at the gift box on the table. After a long time, I heard the man's gloomy voice. Who sent it? Who else could it be? Of course, it was your lover, Gavin. My daughter was only 16 days old and received such a vicious curse. You are the father of the child. You cannot love her, but you must not bring disaster to her. I will get the divorce agreement this afternoon, otherwise, I will go to the court to sue directly tomorrow. I calmly watched the man I loved for many years. I thought I would grow old together with him, but in the end, he betrayed me in the most dirty way. The end of a marriage turned out to be a mess, but I want to thank Lily so that I can use her power to force Gavin again. The following days passed peacefully and calmly. I listened to my mother and took a good rest. When the weather was fine, I held my daughter on the balcony to bask in the sun. The moment the sun shone on my body, I suddenly decided to name my daughter Daisy. I hope my child is like the first ray of sunshine in the morning, warm but not dazzling, always having the courage to start again. I asked my mother for her opinion with sparkling eyes. A daisy? What a good name! My mother happily picked up her little grandson and said, My little Daisy, you must accompany your mother like the sun I am. I saw my mother turn her head and secretly wipe her tears. She always felt sorry for me and felt that her daughter had suffered 1,000 grievances. I comforted her, Mom, I feel fine now. When I first learned that Gavin had cheated, I was so sad that I couldn't breathe, and my heart was aching. I couldn't sleep all night, wondering if I had done something wrong. Later, I figured it out. It's not that I'm bad. Some people are born cheap, they will never settle down in one room. I used to think he loved me honestly because he didn't have the conditions to cheat. Later, he became successful in his career and had enough conditions. Sooner or later, this day would come. Rather than knowing it a few years later, it's better to cut the Gordian knot now while the children are young and ignorant. I stood up easily, opened my arms, and hugged my mother and my children. I exhaled with satisfaction. Now that you are by my side, I am very happy every day. The next day, I received Gavin's divorce agreement. He made another change in the property division column. Gavin assigned all the real estate to me. I signed happily. Chapter 16. I didn't stop Gavin from seeing the child, so almost every day, Gavin would take time to hug my daughter. Various toys also flowed into the house. When my daughter was 1 month old, the man excitedly gave her a gift, a gold lock. He hugged the child, kissed her again and again, and even shed tears. My mother was very happy. She pulled me and whispered, Samantha, observe for a while. If he really repents, you should forgive him for Daisy's sake. I lowered my head and sneered. Dogs can't change their eating habits, right? Sure enough, after spending a few minutes with my daughter, Gavin's phone rang. I looked at the 2 words Lily jumping happily on the screen. The man looked at me with embarrassment. I'll answer it. What if there is an emergency? The moment the phone was picked up, Lily's cry came over. Gavin, where are you? I suddenly have a stomach ache, and there is also bleeding in my lower body. What should I do? Gavin, is it possible that we can't keep our child? The man anxiously comforted her. It's okay, Lily. Just sit still. I'll be back soon. Gavin didn't even have time to say goodbye to his daughter and left in a hurry. I was terribly calm in the midst of my mother's angry scolding. I was just waiting for another opportunity, an opportunity for revenge. Soon, the opportunity came. A week later, I received a call from Lily. Her tone was fierce. Samantha, Gavin, and I are getting married. I have to thank you for divorcing Gavin. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have been able to get married with Gavin so quickly. Oh, so I'm calling to invite you to have a drink at Gavin and I's wedding on Friday. Thank you for your help. I wasn't angry. I just replied to her slowly, Lily, is your child okay? Are you planning to have a baby after 10 months of pregnancy, or do you plan to find an auspicious day to abort after marriage? Lily's horrified abuse came from the other end of the phone. Samantha, what on earth do you want to do? I didn't say a word in response and hung up the phone with a sneer. Yes, Lily was not pregnant at all at that time. I saw the pajamas and the shopping bag in the cafe. A woman in early pregnancy wearing high heels and crossing her legs, everything is weird. When my body was almost recovered, I contacted my senior sister and told her my suspicion. My senior sister quickly brought me the news: Lily was not pregnant at all. It was just a stupid idea of a woman who couldn't wait to get promoted. I decisively took my mother and Daisy back to my hometown, turned off my phone, and made sure that Lily couldn't find me during this period. I wanted to let the bride always have a knife hanging over her head, living in fear every day. On Friday, I sent Lily's fake ultrasound report and the recording of bribing the intern to Gavin. In the city's largest hotel, Gavin beat Lily in front of all the guests. The man tore open Lily's dress and took out a ball of cotton from Lily's abdomen in front of everyone. The whole audience was shocked. Lily tried her best to cover her body that was barely exposed under everyone's gaze. She trembled under Gavin's angry eyes. Gavin, listen to my explanation. I love you so much. I just lied to you because I can't leave you. Forgive me for my love for you. A hand trembled and raised, trying to hold the man's hand, but it was slapped away by the man. Gavin gritted his teeth and kicked the woman in the stomach. Along with the woman's screams, Gavin gritted his teeth and yelled, "Forgive you? You destroyed my family." The guests found something wrong and pulled Gavin away, but Lily was already dying. The blood from her lower body quickly soaked her snow-white dress. The ambulance took Lily away, and the police car took Gavin away. The guests who attended the wedding posted the video online, and it quickly became a hot topic in the city. I saw the video online and breathed a sigh of relief. I kissed my daughter's delicate face hard. Samantha, I have never been a weak and easy-to-bully person. When Daisy was a toddler, Gavin was released from prison because Gavin beat Lily too hard, and her uterus was broken. She lost the chance to be a mother forever. Lily's family took Gavin to court. When Gavin was in prison, he sent someone to tell me that he wanted to see me. I refused. There's no need. We had walked together for a while, but in the end, we found out that we were not on the same path. There's no need to entangle. I just didn't expect that the first thing a man would do after being released from prison was to find this place. I looked at Gavin through the flowers and trees. The man had lost a lot of weight and looked old. He just stared at Daisy with tears in his eyes. My daughter hid behind me in fear and asked, "Mom, who is he?" I didn't plan to hide it from Daisy and was about to tell my daughter that it was her father. I was interrupted by Gavin, who smiled awkwardly and rubbed his hands a little. "Daisy, I am your college classmate. You can call me Uncle Gavin." At that moment, I suddenly realized that the once arrogant Gavin had disappeared. He learned to be afraid that Daisy would know that he had a father who had been in prison. He slowly squatted down and asked tentatively, "Daisy, can Uncle hug you?" My daughter looked up at me. I nodded encouragingly. Daisy walked forward, and Gavin took her into his arms. E-man buried his head in his daughter's shoulder and choked. Daisy became scared and cried and struggled. I took the child and let her mother take her away first. Gavin wiped the tears from his face and looked at me with shame. "Although it's useless, I still have to say sorry to you, Samantha. It was me who broke up a good family." The man rubbed his cheeks hard, his eyes red. "I deserve it. Don't tell your daughter that there is a father like me in the future. I don't deserve it." After that, he turned and left. A man in his 30s was already hunched over. I watched Gavin leave, feeling neither sad nor happy. Everyone has to pay for their mistakes. It's just a matter of suffering. "Mom," Daisy, shout, brought me back to my thoughts. I turned and ran to my baby.